them for their own economy, and they should have their sovereignty back. They should be able to deal with their neighbors at their own will.
Should we cut foreign aid to Israel?
No, we should not be cutting foreign aid to Israel. Israel is our greatest ally. The biggest problem is the fact that the president of The biggest problem with this administration and foreign policy is that President Obama, as the first president since Israel declared her sovereignty, put daylight between the United States and Israel. That heavily contributed to the current hostilities that we see in the Middle East region. Cutting back on foreign aid is one thing. Being reimbursed by nations that we have liberated is another. We should look to Iraq and Libya to reimburse us for part of what we have done to liberate these nations. Now, I need to add something on this issue of negotiating for hostages. This is a very serious issue. For any candidate to say that they would release the prisoners at Guantanamo in exchange for a hostage would be absolutely contrary to the historical nature of the United States and what we do in our policy. That's naive. We cannot do that. The United States has done well because we have an absolute policy. We don't negotiate.
Herman Cain, I've got to give you 30 seconds because she was referring to basically saying you were naive, or if that's what you were suggesting.
No, I said that I believe in the philosophy of we don't negotiate with terrorists. I think I didn't say I would never agree to letting hostages in Guantanamo Bay go. No, that wasn't the intent at all. But let me go back to this, if I could, very quickly in the time that I have left. The question they asked about foreign aid. My approach is an extension of the Reagan approach: peace through strength, and which is peace through strength and clarity. If we clarify who our friends are, clarify who our enemies are, and stop giving money to our enemies, then we ought to continue to give money to our friends like Israel.
You have 30 seconds, Congressman Palmer.
Yes.
I got to go.
Matter of fact, I don't want to make a statement. I want to ask a question. Are you all willing to condemn Ronald Reagan for changing weapons for hostages out of Iran? We all know that was done.
That's not, Iran was a sovereign country. It was not a terrorist organization, number one.
They were our good friends.
They're not our good friends, but they're a sovereign country, just like the Palestinian Authority is not the good friends of Israel.
He negotiated for hostages.
There's a role, we negotiated with hostages with the Soviet Union. Now, we've negotiated with hostages, depending on the scale, but there's a difference between releasing terrorists from Guantanamo Bay in response to a terrorist demand.
They're all suspect. They're not terrorists. You haven't convicted them of anything.
Then negotiating with other countries where we may have an interest, and that is certainly a proper role for the United States to do.
We got to take a quick break. I do want to give Speaker Gingrich 30 seconds, and then...
Just very straightforward. Cliff and I did a film on Ronald Reagan. There's a very painful moment in the film when he looks in the camera and says, "I didn't think we did this. I am against doing it. I went back and looked. The truth is we did. It was an enormous mistake." And he thought the Iranian deal was a terrible mistake.
We're going to take a short break. Our debate, though, continues on the other side of the break, so stay tuned. When we return, which candidate has the best chance to beat Barack Obama? And should it matter in your vote? Stay with us. Debate is underway. Let's talk about probably the most important issue to everybody on this stage and probably just about everybody on this room, which is who can beat President Barack Obama in this next election. In today's new CNN ORC poll, 41% of Republican voters think that Governor Romney has the best chance of beating the president. To Senator Santorum, you got 1%. Why shouldn't Republican voters go with the candidate they feel they can best beat, that can best beat President Obama?
Well, the Pew poll last week asked how many people in this country can name any of us, and less than 50% could come up with even one. So the idea that this has any relevance to people who aren't paying close attention to this debate is in fact irrelevant. What's relevant is to look at the track record. No one in this field has won a swing state. Pennsylvania is a swing state. We win Pennsylvania. We win the election. The Republican is nominated. I've won it twice. I defeated a Democratic incumbent winning it the first time, and I won the state of Pennsylvania, the only senator to win a state who was a conservative that George Bush lost. Bush lost it by 5. I won it by 6. So you have someone who's defeated and been matched up against 3 Democratic incumbents. I'm 3-0. Nobody on this field has won a major race against the Democratic incumbent except me. No one has won a swing state except me as a conservative. I didn't run as a Democrat in Texas when it was popular to run and win there. I didn't run as a liberal in 1994. I ran in 1994, the same year Mitt did in Massachusetts. He ran as a liberal to the left of Kennedy and lost. I ran as a conservative against James Carville and Paul Begala, and I won. And in 2002, he ran as a moderate. He ran as a moderate in Massachusetts. I ran for re-election, having sponsored and passed welfare reform, having authored the Partial Birth Abortion Ban Act.
Fine.
I was a moral conservative. I was a foreign policy conservative.
Fine,
I was a fiscal conservative, and I got elected in a state that hasn't elected a president since 1988 as a Republican.
Governor Romney, I've got to give you 30 seconds since he referenced you.
I think the people of America are looking for someone who can beat President Obama and can get the country on the right track. And I believe that they recognize that if we elect someone who spent their life in politics, that they're not going to be able to post up well against President Obama and convince the American people of the truth of the principles that we believe in. I believe that having spent my life in the private sector, having actually created jobs, is what allows me to have the kind of support that's going to allow me to replace President Obama and get the country on the right track again. That, for me, is a distinguishing feature that's going to get me elected as the President of the United States.
Governor...
Yeah.
Governor Perry, was he referring to you?
If you want to know how someone's going to act in the future, look how they act in the past. I mean, so Mitt, while you were the governor of Massachusetts in that period of time, you were 47th in the nation in job creation. During that same period of time, we created 20 times more jobs. As a matter of fact, you created 40,000 jobs total in your 4 years. Last 2 months, we created more jobs than that in Texas. What we need is someone who will draw a bright contrast between themselves and President Obama. And let me tell you one thing, I will draw that bright contrast.
I got to give you 30 seconds, Governor Romney.
Yeah, with regards to track record in the past, Governor, you were the chairman of Al Gore's campaign. All right, and there was a fellow Texan named George Bush running. So if we're looking at the past, I think we know where you were. Secondly, our unemployment rate, I got down to 4.7%. Pretty darn good. I think a lot of people would be happy to have 4.7%. And with regards to the record in Texas, you probably also ought to tell people that if you look over the last several years, 40%, almost half the jobs created in Texas were created for illegal aliens, illegal immigrants.
That is an absolute falsehood on its face, Mitt.
You have 30 seconds, Governor Perry.
That is absolutely incorrect, sir.
Well, we'll take a look at the study.
There's been a third party take a look at that study, and it is absolutely incorrect. The fact is, Texas has led the nation in job creation. eBay and Facebook and Caterpillar didn't come there because there weren't jobs and there wasn't an environment to be created. That's what Americans are looking for. They're looking for somebody that they trust, that knows, has the executive governing experience. I've got it. You failed as the governor of Massachusetts.
I got to give Governor Romney 30 seconds. He said he failed.
I'm very proud of the fact. Actually, during the 4 years we were both governors, my unemployment rate in Massachusetts was lower than your unemployment rate in Texas. That's number one. Number two, getting it down to 4.7, I'm pretty happy with. We worked very hard to balance our budget, did every year, put in place a rainy day fund of $2 billion by the time I was finished. And I'll tell you this, the American people would be happy for an individual who can lead the country, who's actually created jobs, not just watching them get created by others, but someone who knows how the economy works because he's been in it. I've created jobs. I'll use that skill to get America working again. That's what we want.
Herman Cain, you're tied with Governor Romney in some of the polls for the top leadership position right now. Are they the ones, or either Governor Perry or Governor Romney, are they the ones who should be president?
No, I should be president.
Well, obviously.
Governor Romney has a very distinguished career, and I would agree with much of what he has said. And there's one difference between the two of us in terms of our experience. With all due respect, his business executive experience has been more Wall Street oriented. Mine has been more Main Street. I have managed small companies. I've actually had to clean the parking lot. I've worked with groups of businesses, etc. And as far as contrasting me with President Obama, if I am fortunate enough to become the Republican nominee, it's going to be the problem solver who fixes stuff versus a president who hasn't fixed anything in this country.
Governor Romney, you've got 30 seconds.
I appreciate that, and probably the fact that we're doing as well as we are is we both have a private sector background. That probably helps. But I just want to set the record straight of my record. I've been chief executive officer 4 times. Once for a startup and 3 times for turnarounds. One was a financial services company. That was a startup. A consulting company, that's a mainstream business. The Olympics, that's certainly mainstream. And, of course, the state of Massachusetts. In all those settings, I've learned how to create jobs.
Your campaigns are telling us we have to end. It's time. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. Anderson.
It's your campaigns.
Anderson,
if you wanted to file your campaigns, go ahead. Congresswoman Bachmann, 30 seconds.
The good news is the cake is baked. Barack Obama will be a one-term president. There's no question about that. Now the question is, we need to listen to Ronald Reagan, who said, no pastels, bold colors. I am the most different candidate from Barack Obama than anyone on this
Speaker
stage.
Gingrich?
We can't settle in this race.
Speaker Gingrich?
Let me just point out for a second that maximizing bickering is probably not the road to the White House. And the technique you've used maximizes going back and forth over and over again. I just want to say 2 things. I think that I would be the strongest candidate because of sheer substance. If you go to newt.org and look at the 21st Century Contract with America, as the nominee, I will challenge Obama to meet the Lincoln-Douglas standard of 7 3-hour debates, no moderator, only a timekeeper. I believe we can defeat him decisively to a point where we reestablish a conservative America on our values. And I think that is a key part of thinking about next year.
We'd love to host those on CNN. I want to thank all the candidates, the GOP candidates tonight.
You get a chance to answer that. You didn't get a chance to answer that. No, I had the best call.
I want to thank all the candidates for a spirited debate on the stage. We also want to thank our co-sponsors, the Western Republican Leadership Conference, our host, the Sands Convention Center at the Venetian. Our coverage of America's Choice 2012 continues right now here on CNN. Welcome to a special edition of 360. If you are just joining us, welcome to Las Vegas, where 7 Republican presidential hopefuls have just wrapped up their especially fiery debate. Their 8th debate so far, their 5th since Labor Day. In that time, we've seen one front runner after another. You can see them all right now on the stage. Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann, Governor Mitt Romney, Governor Rick Perry, they've all had their moments. Tonight was expected to be Herman Cain's big moment to prove he's more than just a bump in the polls, to show how well he can stand up to serious scrutiny. He took plenty of it on his tax plan tonight. We're expecting him to join us shortly. Rick Perry had the pressure on him after a string of lackluster performances in debates, and Mitt Romney trying to win over conservatives who in some cases cannot seem to fully warm up to him. So how did they do? What were the key moments? Who had the facts on his or her side? Who played fast and loose with them? As always, we've got some of the sharpest players in the business here tonight. Democratic strategist Donna Brazile, CNN contributor and former George W. Bush White House spokesman Ari Fleischer. As always on Twitter, you can join him at Ari Fleischer. Also top political analyst David Gergen and Gloria Borger. Also John King, host of John King USA. They are all with us here as well. Gloria, what'd you make of tonight?
It was kind of an angry debate, Anderson. These were, remember Ronald Reagan's 11th commandment, thou shalt not speak ill of another Republican, and I think tonight we all expected Herman Cain to be on the hot seat, but I must say Mitt Romney really got it from Rick Perry and also from Rick Santorum. He was attacked for having no credibility by Santorum on health care. He was attacked for being a hypocrite on immigration by Rick Perry. Perry clearly knew that he had to turn in a sharp debate performance. He clearly had a lot more energy during this debate, but I'm not quite sure he did what he came to do, which was to kind of land blows, really, against Mitt Romney.
Ari Fleischer, you've watched a lot of these debates. What'd you make of it tonight?
Well, Hell Anderson, I think the first stage of debates are over. We don't have another for a month. And after these half dozen or so debates, what's happened in the Republican field is Mitt Romney's in first and he's opening up his lead. Rick Perry was good and feisty tonight, but I don't think it was enough. He needs to do even more of it. Herman Cain remains strong. Herman Cain is remaining in contention to be the anti-Romney, the guy who will go mano a mano against Mitt Romney if Romney keeps up what he's doing. These